Chapter 1475. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city 3. However, tiny trash like this was scarce around here. How many of the people who come to the spirit beast mountain would be this week? He could only live his days in hiding, fearing that one day he would be caught by humans to become roast leopard meat. It's okay. Feng Ruching had a smile on her face as she continued to get closer to the leopard. You found me. The leopard was stunned. When he lifted his head, he noticed that Feng Ruching had gotten close to him. With caution in his eyes, he said fiercely, "Don't come closer. If you do, it'll swallow him." This time, Feng Ruching stopped. She looked at the leopard and said, "If you wanted to eat him, you would have done so already. The way I see it, you must have a few of your kind left who are also starving. That's why you didn't eat him on the spot. You want to share him with your kind." The little fatty's tears and snot covered his entire face. "I beg you, stop saying something so scary." Being swallowed alive by a leopard was already scary enough, but she said the leopard wanted to share him. Would he even make it out alive? Feng Ruching ignored the little fatty's expression and continued, "But if you come with me, you won't have to eat raw food or starve anymore. You guys will only have to take care of my garden." The leopard snorted. "No human is decent. I won't believe you." "Oh," Feng Ruching pouted. The spirit beast had a low IQ, so he was fixed on his thoughts. Saying any more to him was useless. "Forget it then. I had wanted to heal your wounds, but since you're unwilling, let's go, Nan Xian. Forget him." Feng Ruching never spared the leopard another glance as she turned to leave. "Wait," the leopard called out with his eyes shut tight. Feng Ruching paused. "Is there something else? I don't like raw meat. You don't have to share that fatty in your mouth with me." The leopard was speechless. "Who said I wanted to share the fatty with you? Me for extra chapters. You? Can you really heal my wounds?" The leopard paused before asking. "Yeah, recovery of strength will depend on yourself, but I can heal your wounds. At least it wouldn't hurt anymore, but you don't seem like you need it. Nancian, let's go." "He doesn't need me." "Don't." The leopard became anxious. "If you can really heal my wounds, I can let this fatty go." Feng Ruching raised an eyebrow and turned to look at the leopard. "This little fatty has nothing to do with me. I want to help you because I have a leopard at home too. No, I have a lot of leopards, and each of them is very helpful, so I'm helpful. I'm very helpful. I have a few other tribesmen too, and they're all very helpful. But can you really heal my wounds?" The leopard still sounded suspicious. He did not want to let go of his only chance, but he did not trust humans. He was afraid that this human would push him over the edge. Feng Ruching did not answer the leopard. Before everyone's eyes, she took out some pots and pans. Under everyone's scrutiny, she took out a stick to start a fire. Feng Lianqing stared at Feng Ruching with his mouth gaping, unable to understand what she was doing. Time trickled away, and the sun set below the mountains. The sunset glow covered the skies as night began within the spirit beast mountain. Soon, a strong fragrance wafted from the pot, making the leopard spit out the boy in his mouth to swallow his saliva. He stared fixedly at the pot in front of Feng Ruching. Chapter 1476. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city 4. It was worth mentioning that spirit beasts do not have very high intelligence. With just the fragrance of food, it was enough to bewitch them to the point of forgetting their initial goals. When the little fatty was spat onto the ground, the snot on his face had dried. Perhaps it was because he had maintained a fixed position inside the leopard's mouth for a long time. He could not move right now. Miss Feng. Feng Lianqing looked eagerly at the pot in front of Feng Ruching, swallowing hard with the anticipation clear in his eyes. "If you want to eat this, I can have Nan Xian beat you up so that you're hurt all over, and then you may eat." Feng Lianqing was speechless. The corners of his lips twitched. "Forget it then." As he had said that, Feng Lianqing would still glance at Feng Ruching's pot from time to time with desire in his eyes. Feng Ruching ignored him and took out the soup in the pot before bringing it to the leopard. The leopard looked hesitant, but alas, he could not resist the temptation of good food, so he took one lap. The flavor instantly made his eyes sparkle. He immediately picked up the bowl with his mouth and drank its content without leaving a single drop. He looked unsatisfied as he licked the corners of his lips, staring eagerly at Feng Ruching. "How do you feel?" Feng Ruching smiled faintly at the leopard. The leopard was befuddled by delicious food earlier, so he only realized after Feng Ruching had spoken. The stinging pain in his chest was getting better, and it was not as agonizing as before. This surprised him as delight appeared in his eyes. His gaze on Feng Ruching now looked a little more different. Although there was still caution, the initial hostility was gone. "Some of my tribesmen, too, are hurt." The leopard paused before asking, "Can you help me save them?" Feng Ruching squinted at him. "How do they fare on labor?" "They're great. Really great." The leopard was terrified that Feng Ruching would reject him, so he quickly answered, "Okay, that will do. Lead the way." "All right." The leopard let out a quiet sigh of relief. If his tribesmen could recover, they would not have to live their days in hiding. The little fatty could finally get up. He stumbled as he crawled over to Feng Ruching, crying and sniffling as he said, "Goddess sister, from today on, you're my greatest savior. I will be your slave and servant to repay you." As he spoke, he wanted to rub his snot on Feng Ruching's robes. Feng Ruching lifted a leg to kick him away. "Wash your face before you come over. Me for extra chapters." "Okay." The little prince no longer displayed his initial arrogance. He now looked extremely obedient. Feng Lianqing had never seen the little prince this obedient. The brat was now like a puppy, standing obediently in front of Feng Ruching. If the boy had a tail, Feng Lianqing could probably see him wag his tail as he begged for attention. Nanxian lowered his head to look at the little prince. Male. Child. There was no threat to him. Master. Shaoqing looked up at Nanxian and urged softly, "Have you forgotten about Jiuming?" Ever since his master had stopped being wary about the men that appeared around the princess, it gave way to a case like Jiuming. "It's not the same." Yes, it was indeed not the same. This was a child, so he did not have to be cautious. Moreover, he was ugly. "What about the leopard?" Shaoqing added. Chapter 1477. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city v male. Beast. Servant. Even less threatening. Qinger would never accept beasts, especially a male beast. Shaoqing was speechless. For some reason, he thought of the black dragon. Does Master really need not be wary of spirit beasts? That black dragon seemed a little different, but when he saw Nan Xian's calm expression, Shaoqing decided not to tell him. Forget it, forget it. That black dragon has disappeared and probably won't ever reappear again. Master really doesn't need to be wary of a missing dragon. Moreover, the princess has married Master, so she won't be flirting around. It's only those shameless women who would throw themselves at the princess. For example, that person named Tang Yin and that Gu Yi. Shaoqing snorted. Thankfully, his master was charming. Otherwise, the princess would have run off with someone else. Feng Ruching did not hear their conversation. She was following the leopard as they walked into the night. Nanxian regained his senses and walked over to her. He appeared beside Feng Ruching in the blink of an eye and lifted an arm to pull the girl into his embrace. "Let's go." As he walked behind the couple, Feng Lianqing felt like this public display of affection had just blinded him. He felt a little uneasy. He had never considered a relationship between man and woman, but after seeing this lovey-dovey scene, he suddenly had an urge to start a family too. At Wushang City, under the osmanthus tree, Tianyu was standing with his hands behind him. He was still dressed in bold red with his eyes dark. "General," the old housekeeper walked up quietly behind Tianyu. "I've taken care of Jia Exine." "Okay." Tianyu smirked. This is considered being lenient to him. If he didn't need to report to Sangyu mainland in person, I would have never let him leave alive. Ha! To bully his family. Did the man really think that he, Feng Wuhui, was someone who would not protect the weak? One more thing. The old housekeeper paused before continuing. Jia Exine said that he could return only because a black dragon had torn the sky open and dragged him in. Tianyu narrowed his aged eyes. And then, I thought if that black dragon can easily drag Jia Exine back, could it also bring the people over here to Sangyu mainland? Tianyu was baffled. What was this old man trying to say? Did he think that Tianyu did not know that as well? Me for extra chapters. The old housekeeper continued respectfully. Just earlier, I've heard that a black dragon was heading toward the Spirit Beast Mountain. I wonder if it's the same one that Jiaxine spoke of. Tianyi's aura immediately became imposing. He grabbed the old housekeeper by his collar. Why didn't you say so earlier? I've also just heard and come here immediately to report to you, General. Tianyi raised his arm and pushed the old housekeeper to the ground. In making a trip to the Spirit Beast Mountain. When Lianqing comes back, have him take care of General Manor. Understood, General. After the old housekeeper had spoken, Tianyi flipped his sleeve before walking smartly out of General Manor. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared into the dark of the night. At the Spirit Beast Mountain, within a dark cave, a few leopards were curled up together. They were hiding in the dark, not daring to make any movements. Just then, footsteps could be heard around the entrance. The leopards lifted their heads to look over at the entrance. In an instant, a familiar silhouette appeared in their eyes, filling them with joy. However, when they saw the few humans following behind that silhouette, they were startled as fury sparked in their gaze. Chapter 1478. Leading the Spirit Beast to attack the City 6. Ahua. How could you partner up with humans too? Ahua. The corners of Feng Lianqing's mouth twitched. Is the naming standard of spirit beasts that low? A male leopard with the name Ahua. Puffed. Doesn't he feel embarrassed? Shaoqing subconsciously looked up at Feng Ruqing. Yeah, the naming standards of these spirit beasts were on par with the princess. So, your name is Ahua. Feng Ruqing was smiling brightly. This name sounds good. It's simple and nice. Feng Lianqing was baffled. Just which part of it is nice? Stand there. Seeing Feng Ruqing and her group getting closer, the leopard in front immediately flared up in anger. He stood up and roared, "If you guys come any closer, don't blame us for not showing you mercy. Ahua, you've disappointed us. We never thought you would side with humans. Ahua, is this how you honor our fallen tribesmen? What benefit did this human give you that made you leader here?" Upon hearing his comrade's words, Ahua fell into deep thought. Was the spirit herb dish that healed his injuries considered a benefit? It seems that your comrades don't welcome us. Nancian, let's go. Feng Ruqing shrugged and turned to leave. Ahua instantly became anxious. He quickly pounced over to block Feng Ruqing's way. Didn't we already agree? They're a hard-working bunch. Really? You can't just leave like that. Ahua, that leopard got angrier. Did you sell us off to humans as servants? Ahua, you're too much. You would stop at nothing to sell us off. A leopard like you isn't fit to be our comrade. Ahua had no mind to pay his comrades. There was worry in his eyes as he explained nervously. My tribesmen actually have an excellent temper. They're also very good at labor with boundless strength. They can do anything. Didn't we already agree? You can't just leave like that. The leopards were going mad with fury. Their gaze on Ahua became even more disappointed. Feng Ruqing shrugged. They don't need it. Me for extra chapters? No. I can accept on their behalf. Ahua did not care anymore. As long as you agree, I'm willing to accept your request on their behalf. Feng Ruqing saw the leopard's eyes turning red from anxiousness. She reached out a hand to pat his head before taking out a huge pot from the medium. This pot still had the spirit herb soup she had made earlier. It was still a little warm. We'll wait for you at the cave's entrance. Bring them out to see me later. I still have some things I'd like to ask you. Ahua's eyes sparkled. All right. Thank you. You're a wonderful person. The best I've ever met. He had forgotten how he had treated Feng Ruqing initially. His eyes were now filled with the spirit herb soup in front of him as his saliva almost fell. Fortunately, Ahua had great control of himself. He knew that he should let his heavily injured comrades consume it first, and so he resisted his inner desires but continued to stare longingly at the pot. Feng Ruqing did not say anything else. She went outside the cave. The night in the Spirit Beast Mountain was quiet. However, who knew how much danger lurked in this silence? She squatted down in front of a tree and looked up at the moon. The night was bewitching. Moonlight fell onto her beautiful face. Nansien, did you realize that on our way here, we didn't meet many strong spirit beasts? Chapter 1479, Leading the Spirit Beast to Attack the City 7. Yeah, that's true. Nansien stood beside the girl. His gaze on her was warm, with a hint of gentleness. We'll leave the spirit beast mountain tomorrow. A glint flashed through Feng Rooking's eyes. I have to find Xiaoyu no matter how and what it takes. Xiao Qing spoke feebly. Princess, did you notice that the girl I've bitten looks a bit like Tang Yin? Her shamelessness was a little like Tang Yin's too. Feng Ruqing raised her eyebrows. Did you notice as well? Not only their appearance, but even their scents are also alike. We spirit beasts are very sensitive to this. She might have some relation with Tang Ying. There was suspicion in Xiao Qing's eyes. But why would Tang Yin be related to anyone from Land of No Return? Isn't she from Sanyu mainland? Moreover, Tang Yin was a beast man, while Lianyi was fully human. Feng Ruqing patted Xiao Qing's head. Your senses aren't bad. My instincts are telling me the same. So, when the time comes, I have to ask about Lianyi's background thoroughly. Just as Feng Ruqing was about to speak again, she saw Feng Lianqing leading the little prince over. The little prince was cringing slightly. It was not until they left the cave entrance that he finally let out a sigh of relief. He was afraid that the spirit beast would pounce at him and swallow him alive just now. Compared to Feng Ruqing and Nansien, those spirit beasts were way scarier. At least these two people would not swallow him alive. Feng Lianqing. Feng Ruqing stood up. Do you remember what you have promised me today? Feng Lianqing was stunned. After some thought, he understood what Feng Ruqing was referring to. You mean Lianyi? Yeah. Feng Ruqing's lips curved slightly. How much do you know about her? Feng Lianqing glanced sympathetically at Nansien before quickly retracting his gaze and saying in all seriousness, Lianyi isn't a good woman. There was silence. She likes to eat garlic, is always picking the bottom of her feet, and has an athlete's foot. She would even fart while she ate. Oh, she doesn't like children. You're pregnant, so shall bully your child. Me for extra chapters. There was still silence. So, a married woman like you shouldn't be interested in her. Feng Ruqing was stunned. What did her being married have anything to do with her interest in Lianyi? I just want to know about Lianyi's background. Her background? I'm not too sure. Just think of her as an orphan. There's no need for you to meet her parents anyway. You're a married woman. Please restrain yourself. Feng Ruqing was a little confused. She just wanted to inquire about some information about Lianyi. What did that have anything to do with her being a married woman? Feng Lianqing. She gritted her teeth. Feng Lianqing looked troubled. I really don't know. She met my master before me. Back when I started following my master, she was already in general manner. I could be considered her childhood friend, but we didn't come from the same place. I wouldn't know even if you asked me. Oh, Feng Ruqing pouted. She had saved this man for nothing. How dull. Nansien, let's take the leopards with us later. Upon hearing that Feng Ruqing was about to leave, the little prince cried as he pounced over and hugged her leg. Goddess sister, don't leave me behind. Bring me along. Feng Lianqing is too weak. If I follow him, my life will be in danger. Those spirit beasts keep on my fats. Feng Ruqing lifted her leg to kick the little prince away. Get lost, male being. Chapter 1480. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city 8, the little prince rolled over and got back up, crying and running to Feng Ruqing. I could be a girl. Please don't leave me with Feng Lianqing. He's too stupid. I don't want to follow him. This fool could not even look after a child. It would definitely be dangerous to follow him. Feng Lianqing's face darkened as he stepped forward. Your Highness, I can protect you. The little prince turned to Feng Lianqing and looked back at Feng Ruqing, crying so hard. I don't want to follow him. He can't look after me. If I'm taken away by the spirit beast again, he can't save me. Pretty sister, I'm good and obedient, and I won't curse anymore. Can you take me with you? Your Highness, Feng Lianqing turned to Feng Ruqing, genuinely embarrassed. Maiden Feng, I'm really sorry. The little prince take him away. Feng Ruqing shrugged and said unconcernedly, Nansien and I still have other matters to settle. I won't go with you now." After hearing Feng Ruking's words, Feng Lianking's heart was somewhat disappointed, but he did not say anything in the end. The little prince was anxious and threw himself at Feng Ruching again, his dirty little face filled with tears. "You can't leave me. You can't leave me to that fool, Feng Lianqing. He can't protect me." Feng Ruching glanced at him coldly, scaring the little prince into silence. He looked at her with pitiful eyes. "You follow him." "All right." The little prince responded obediently, not daring to oppose her. "Good. You take him away, and he'll come to you later when I get the chance." Feng Ruching smiled and patted Feng Lianking's shoulder. And when her hand landed on his shoulder, Feng Lianqing felt a cold gaze land on his shoulder, and he trembled in fright. It's not my fault. It's Feng Ruching who touched me first. I'm innocent." Fortunately, Feng Ruching quickly retracted her hand, and that cold gaze gradually disappeared. Me for extra chapters. Feng Lianqing heaved a huge sigh of relief. He felt like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. "Let's go." Feng Lianqing turned his head, looking at the little prince whose face was filled with tears. The little prince looked at Feng Lianqing and then turned to Feng Ruching. His footsteps were still a little hesitant. He had always felt that he would definitely lose his life if he followed Feng Lianqing. Perhaps he might not even have the chance to leave the Spirit Beast mountain range. However, the little prince also understood that Feng Ruching would not take him with her, and if he did not follow Feng Lianqing, he might be killed by the wolves in the mountain range. Therefore, after thinking about it, he still walked up to Feng Lianking's side, without uttering a word. He looked somewhat aggrieved, no longer arrogant and overbearing. Feng Lianqing eventually walked away with a group of people. Only Feng Ruching and Nansien were left on the entire mountain range. The wind was cold. The night in the Spirit Beast mountain range was quiet and somewhat bizarre. Feng Ruching sensed a movement coming from a cave. She looked sideways and saw a group of leopards coming out of the cave. These leopards no longer looked at her with the initial hatred, and even if they were still wary, it was just that they did not dare to trust the good intentions of the humans fully. So, Feng Ruching raised her eyebrows. "Do you want to follow me now, or are you going to stay in the Spirit Beast Mountain and come to me later?" Chapter 1481. Leading the Spirit Beast to attack the City 9. After all, it was not convenient to bring such a group of Spirit Beasts with her. When she had settled down first, she would then let these Spirit Beasts come to her. "Thank you." The leopard that was scolding Ahua just now was deep in thought before thanking him earnestly. "You're working for me, and he'll pay you for it. I don't need some handicap to work for me." Feng Ruching frowned. "Moreover, what has happened in this Spirit Beast Mountain?" Ahua paused for a moment. "There's a family in the mainland that has been contracting the Spirit Beast for generations, and the Spirit Beasts of the Spirit Beast Mountain have always obeyed those people as well. Back then, because of the help of Spirit Beasts, that family occupied an extremely important position in the mainland, and no one in the world dared to call them out. Later, the head of that family became seriously ill." "Seriously ill?" Feng Ruching was startled. "Yes, I've heard that they're all paralyzed to this day, unable to speak or move their hands. His adopted son took over as head of the family." Ahua sounded serious. "Adopted son? Why is an adopted son handling the family? He has no biological sons or daughters." "No, he had a daughter once, but she went missing when she was a child, and he had a hard time finding her. I heard that the daughter he had found was stubborn, uneducated, unruly, and had paralyzed him. Initially, he wanted his daughter to marry his adopted son, but because his daughter was such a disappointment, he was embarrassed to have his adopted son marry her. Therefore, he had planned to hand over the family to him. These things were no secrets in Land of No Return. But because more than 20 years had passed, only a few people left who knew about this. He made this decision before he was paralyzed, and I heard from someone that his daughter ran away because of a big fight with him after she knew about his decision." Somehow, Feng Ruching suddenly felt bad after hearing these words from Ahua. This feeling came out of nowhere, and even she was not sure why she felt that way. It always felt like there was inexplicable anger that she wanted to vent. After that, his adopted son inherited his imperial beast abilities and even ruled the entire spirit beast mountain. And from then on, it was a nightmare. Ahua laughed bitterly. Me for extra chapters. The spirit beasts revered freedom. Even if they were willing to obey that family, it did not mean that they were willing to lose their freedom. It was because they were unwilling to do so that had ushered in a nightmare that they would never forget. How was that adopted son like now? A cold light flashed in Feng Rooking's eyes. He's too overbearing. He wants to be the king of spirit beasts, but we've never been willing to submit to someone like a slave for so many years. So he's tricked the strongest of those spirit beasts in some unknown way, and we, the beasts who are not strong and unwilling to obey, will be killed. If one lost his freedom, what was the difference between him and a puppet? His ambition was too strong, so strong that it was frightening. Feng Ruching pursed her lips and remained silent. Only after a moment did she ask, "That adopted son, is he now married?" "Yes, he married a childhood friend, and I guess the kids are already grown up." Feng Rooking's eyes grew heavy as she asked again, "The last question, what's the last name of that family?" Chapter 1482. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city X, Ahua looked at Feng Ruching and said honestly, "Nan." Nan. Feng Rooking's suspicions were now confirmed. Her eyes were filled with rage. The Nan family. Nan Suyi. No wonder Suyi did not allow her to have any contact with spirit beasts. So the family she was in had such a relationship with the spirit beasts. If I'm not mistaken, Suyi is the daughter of the old master of the Nan family, who went missing before. But Suyi's personality, is she an arrogant and domineering woman? Would she have paralyzed her old father with anger for the slightest bit of power? Suyi had always been unconcerned about any fame or fortune, but in Land of No Return, she was known for such a reputation. Feng Ruching slowly closed her eyes, her angry fists trembling. Only after a long time did she open her eyes and looked at Nancian. "State Preceptor, I understand." Nancian's handsome face remained calm, yet his eyes permeated coldness. "I won't let anyone bully her." The Nan family. He did not care about them. But those people, none of them could bully his mother. Feng Ruching held the anger in her heart as she turned to Ahua and the other leopards. "I have to go to Wushang City first. It's too inconvenient to bring all of you with me, and it's also easy to attract attention. You guys should wait for me here, and once I've settled down, I'll let you come to me." Ahua was a little hesitant, but it finally nodded. "All right," Feng Ruching continued. "You don't have to worry. I will leave enough food for all of you, so you don't have to hunt anymore. And I will set up a formation here, so no one will be able to find you." Only after hearing this did the stone in Ahua's heart gradually fall. No wonder they were so cowardly. He had had enough running away, and he no longer wanted to be on edge every day. "State Preceptor, it's getting late. We'll stay here for one night, and we'll return tomorrow after I set up the formation for them." Nancian raised his head and touched Feng Rooking's head. "All right, I'll listen to you. Me for extra chapters." It was indeed getting late. However, if Feng Lianqing did not leave immediately, these leopards would be more ferocious and take the little prince away again. Feng Manor, Wushang City. Under the morning light, a panicked figure ran in from outside the manor, her strong brows filled with anxiety and panic. "General, something bad has happened." Her voice disrupted the quiet general manner. The old housekeeper, still looking sleepy, came out from the courtyard with a yawn, and his heart thudded when he saw the panicking figure. "Maiden Liani, why have you come back alone?" "Where's Master Lianqing? Why didn't he come back with you?" Some guards followed Liani. The old housekeeper panicked as he could not see Feng Lianqing's figure among them. Liani was so anxious that she was about to cry. "The little prince has been taken away by a leopard, and Brother Feng went after him." "WH. What?" The old housekeeper's legs were a little weak and trembling as he looked at Liani. "What did you just say? A leopard took the little prince?" "Old housekeeper, where is the general? Quick, let the general go and rescue them, and it might not be too late. The anxiety on Lianya's face was not fake. It scared the old housekeeper. His old face turned pale. Chapter 1483. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city. 11. The old housekeeper trembled as he said, "General had already left a few days ago." Liany froze, her eyes visibly flashing with panic. "Then, you wait here. I'll go report to the emperor." Imperial Palace. 100 flowers bloomed in the back garden. A beautiful woman in the palace dress walked forward with her servants, trembling, as she saw a yellow-robed man standing quietly in the pavilion. The man was quite handsome, with sharp eyebrows and domineering eyes. However, the man's eyes were filled with anxiety. "Your Majesty," the Empress walked over to the man anxiously. Her eyes were filled with tears, and her face was a bit pale. "Is something wrong with you, heir?" Qifeng looked at the Empress' face that was already filled with tears and sighed softly. "Empress, don't worry, Yue will be fine. Feng Lianqing will bring him back." The Empress ignored the man. She walked in and looked at Liany, kneeling in front of the man, and asked, "Maiden Liany, you went to the Spirit Beast Mountain with Feng Lianqing. Why have you come back alone? Where's Yue? Why didn't he come back with you?" Qi was useless, but the Empress almost died giving birth to him back then, so she had always loved him a little more. She had not slept well for several days and nights since Qi was missing. Therefore, when she had heard the palace servant say that Liany had gone to the palace to meet the emperor, she immediately rushed back. Liany lowered her head, not daring to look at the empress' eyes. Such action made the empress' heart panic even more. "I order you to tell me what has happened to Yue." Her voice trembled and was a bit harsh. Liany subconsciously looked at Qifeng. Qifeng sighed and gave a slight nod. Liany raised her eyes and looked at the empress. "Empress, little prince he was taken away by a leopard." This sentence was like a thunderbolt from the clear sky that made the empress fall backward. Her eyes were dim, and she could not stand firmly on her feet. Me for extra chapters. She would have fainted if Qifeng did not hold her in time. "Impossible. You're lying to me. Where's Feng Lianqing? Tell him to come back and bring Yue back immediately." The Empress grasped Qifeng's hand tightly. Qifeng frowned, but it did not stop her, allowing her to let her emotions out. "Tell Feng Lianqing to bring him back quickly. Bring back my son." The Empress' voice was hysterical. Her eyes reddened, and tears were rolling down from her beautiful eyes. Her body in Qifeng's arms was trembling a little. Qifeng turned back to Liany. "General Tianya is such a powerful man, but why are you two so bad at doing things?" Lianya's face was pale. "Your Majesty, this has nothing to do with me or Big Brother Feng. Initially, the little prince was in danger. Big Brother Feng and I found him in time and saved him from a red tiger." Qifeng's eyes were cold and stern. "Then, why did he re-encounter danger?" Liany lowered her head, her voice trembling. "We met someone not so nice." "Met someone not so nice?" Qifeng's face sank. "What do you mean?" "At first, Brother Feng and I found a lost woman. Seeing that she was pregnant and pitiful, we felt sympathy for her, so we brought her along with us." But Liany raised her head. Her face was grave with pain. Little Prince thought she was a servant in the general's house, so he had asked her to take off her clothes to wipe his face. Chapter 1484. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city. 12. Qifeng frowned. "Yue is indeed spoiled, but how did Yue get dragged away by the leopard?" "Continue." Qifeng's eyes sunk slightly as he sternly shouted. Lianya's eyes were filled with anger and hatred. But she held a grudge and took advantage of Brother Feng's inattention to hit the little prince from the guard's back, causing the little prince to land right in front of the leopard. The leopard's speed was too fast. Before we could make any move, it had already snatched the little prince with its mouth and took him away. "Your Majesty, this matter has nothing to do with Big Brother Feng. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have pitted her. I beg Your Majesty and the Empress for the general's sake, don't blame Big Brother Feng." Lianya's voice cracked. She was indeed sincere to Feng Lianqing. They had been friends since childhood, and in her eyes, He was like her older brother. She did not want anything to happen to him, so she could only put all the blame on Feng Ruqing. Your Majesty, the Empress grasped Qi Fang's hand tighter as she cried, I will make the person who harmed you pay for it. Qi Fang was considered much calmer than the Empress, and even though he had anger in his heart, he held it back. Leonie, is it true? Leonie nodded. The guards of the general manor can attest to this incident that it was all done on purpose. She held a grudge and wanted to kill the little prince. Besides, the general taught me not to lie since I was a child. The general raised me. How could I do something to frame others? If it was only Leonie who said these things, Qi Fang might have remained hesitant. But Leonie was a member of the general manor. He trusted Tianya. Because of Tianya, he chose to trust Leonie. Describe those people's faces to me, and I'll ask the guards to search for them. No one can harm my prince. A murderous intent flashed in Qi Fang's eyes, making him look even more domineering. The Empress could no longer bear the blow of the bad news and fainted in Qi Fang's arms in tears. Qi Fang could not care about anything else and hurriedly picked up the Empress and headed toward the harem. When all of them had disappeared, Leonie slowly stood up from the ground, gazing in the direction where they had left. A dark light flashed in her eyes. Me for extra chapters. Feng Ruqing, don't blame me. If it weren't for you, Big Brother Feng wouldn't have beaten that guard, and the little prince wouldn't have been taken away by a leopard. It's all your fault, besides. I need to sacrifice someone to save Big Brother Feng. Fortunately, she had just specifically mentioned the general's name so that the emperor would no longer be suspicious of her. Otherwise, she would not be able to make the emperor trust her easily. She took one last look in the direction in which the emperor and the empress had disappeared and turned around to leave the palace. The Spirit Beast Mountain. The morning light covered the entire mountain range, casting dappled light on their bodies through the leaves. Feng Ruqing stopped in her tracks. In front of her, a group of spirit beasts swarmed and surrounded her and Nancian. These spirit beasts were different from the leopards. The leopard clan was still sane, but these spirit beasts seemed to have lost all their mind, leaving only a monstrous killing intent. State Preceptor, Feng Ruqing frowned. Nancian lifted his hand and pulled Feng Ruqing behind him. His cold gaze fell on the group of spirit beasts. They should be under control. Chapter 1485. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city, 13. Feng Ruqing's heart sank. It seemed like it was a little hard to deal with them. Especially since she was pregnant, it was not easy to fight. Feng Ruqing had mixed feelings as she looked at Nancian, who was protecting her. I didn't expect that one day I'll have to rely on a man for protection. I hate this feeling. It's all this little thing in my Bella's fault. It would be fine if the baby were a daughter, but if it was a son, she would not let him go easily. Stay behind me and don't do anything. He'll take care of it. Nancian's eyes flashed coldly, and his figure moved like the wind, appearing over the group of spirit beasts in a split second. This was a group of wind wolves. They looked even uglier than the snow wolves. Feng Ruqing smirked. She did not have any interest in taking them in. Furthermore, this group of spirit beasts was clearly under control, and it was not easy for her to take them in. When the sword in Nancian's hand swung, a wind wolf had a blood mark on its back, but it seemed not to feel it much as it howled and pounced on Nancian again. Feng Ruqing frowned after she heard the wolf's cry. It was because she sensed that countless more spirit beasts were coming to them. Fu Chun and Qing Han stood in front of Feng Ruqing, gazing at the spirit beasts that came flying from not far away. Mother, is there a big feast today? Qing Han gulped, looking hungrily and greedily at the group of spirit beasts that had suddenly attacked. Don't think about food all day long. Go help Nancian. Feng Ruqing patted Qing Han's small head. Oh, Qing Han is weaker, so just stay with me. Fu Chun, you go help him. Qing Han was speechless. She pouted and said, Mother, I'm not weak. I'm super fierce and can bite people. I'm afraid they'll be too hard and would just knock your teeth out. Feng Ruqing sighed. Me for extra chapters. Qing Han stopped talking and stood next to Feng Ruqing, but her heart was gradually filled with determination. One day, I will surpass Brother Fuchun and become more powerful. So powerful that no one will dare to be friends with me. Then, no one will dare to bully Mother and Brother Fuchun anymore. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful force came from midair and landed violently on a wind wolf's body. The wind wolf screamed in pain before it fell into a pool of blood, losing its life. Feng Ruqing was startled. She slowly raised her eyes and saw a figure in a blood-red robe. The old man had one hand on his back. His robe was as red as blood, domineering like the king of this world. His gaze was cold and arrogant as he looked down at the group of spirit beasts below him. Even though the spirit beast mountain is your territory, I won't let any spirit beast kill the innocents in front of my eyes. Get out of here. Go back and tell your masters that no one can touch the innocents. How? Under this powerful energy, the spirit beasts somewhat trembled, and even the group of spirit beasts that had rushed to them just now disappeared without a trace. Even if the spirit beasts had lost their senses, it did not mean that they could not feel the danger. Their powerful survival instincts would make them leave. Young man, young lady, and you two children. In midair, the old man narrowed his eyes. What are you doing so deep in the spirit beast mountain? Don't you know it's dangerous here? Where are your elders? Go back and stop hanging around here. Feng Ruqing remained silent and turned to Nan Xian. Chapter 1486. Leading the spirit beast to attack the City 14, this seemed to be the first time that the state preceptor had been reprimanded. But the state preceptor's face was expressionless, still as calm as always. It was as if no words could move his heart. Suddenly, the old man caught a whiff of something and descended from the air before sniffing hard at Feng Ruqing. What's that smell? It smells so good. Nan Xian's eyes were cold as he lifted his hand and pulled Feng Ruqing into his arms, his sleeves drawing a burst of cold wind at the old man. The old man raised his hand, defusing the sudden cold wind, and smiled. Young man, calm down. The smell of spirit herbs on this girl is very strong. I'm sure she often brings the spirit herbs with her. Feng Ruqing frowned. This old man has a keen sense of smell. Yes, the old man laughed. However, your smell is slightly different from the ordinary spirit herbs. It seems to be mixed with something else. It smells so good, and I'm drooling. Feng Ruqing subconsciously pulled Nan Xian back to keep a distance from this old man. Little Qing Han blinked and said, Can grandfather smell mother's herbal dish? Those little leopards were injured, and mother wanted to have them as her slaves, so she has made a herbal dish for them. Qing Han. Feng Ruqing face-bombed. Qing Han had just met this old man, not even knowing his identity, but she had already revealed her secret. And what did you mean by wanting to make a spirit beast a slave? Am I that kind of person? The old man's eyes lit up. He had even forgotten the purpose of his visit to the spirit beast mountain. He blinked as he looked at Feng Ruqing. Little girl, what is the herbal dish your child is talking about? Is it delicious? Me for extra chapters. Little Qing Han nodded hurriedly. Of course it's delicious. Mother also has spirit wine, and my grandfather really. This time, Qing Han had not even finished speaking, but Feng Ruqing had quickly walked in front of her and clamped her mouth shut. Qing Han whimpered, looking pitifully at Feng Ruqing, clearly not understanding what she had done wrong. Why? The old man's eyes grew brighter. Little girl, do you have any wine now? So, is your wine up for sale? I'm a person who doesn't usually have any other hobbies. I just love to drink, and am even more fond of collecting wine from around the world. Feng Ruqing released the hand that covered Qing Han's mouth and gave the old man in front of her a once-over. Do you have something to exchange with me? The old man, laughed. If you want to exchange things with me, then first give me a taste of your wine, and I'll see what it's worth before I can take out an item of equivalent value. Feng Ruqing smiled faintly. There is nothing of equivalent value to my wine, but for the sake of your kindness in helping us just now, I can give you a taste of it before you make your decision. Feng Ruqing took out the spirit wine from the medium. Ever since her strength had increased, the ingredients used to brew the spirit wine were no longer the lowest grade herbs. That was why, when the spirit wine had just appeared, before the wine jar was even opened, The old man had already smelled the alluring fragrance. The smell made him salivate as he looked unblinkingly at the wine jar Feng Ruqing was holding. It smells so good. Chapter 1487. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city. 15. The smell alone was enough to make him drool. Feng Ruqing took a wine bowl out, carefully poured a bowl of wine, and handed it to the old man. The old man unceremoniously accepted the bowl of wine and downed it in one gulp. The fragrant wine filled his throat and made him feel so good. Good wine, good wine. The wine was good to the last drop. Little girl, what kind of price do you want for this wine? Let's see what price you can afford to pay. The old man hesitated for a moment. He pulled out something from his pouch and handed it to Feng Ruqing. I see that you already have a baby in your womb. This necklace? I got it by luck, so we'll give it to your baby. Give it to her after she's born. ITLL help her gather spiritual chi and get twice the result with half the effort in her cultivation. Feng Ruqing frowned and looked at the necklace handed over by the old man. This necklace had a piece of blood-colored jade hanging from it, and it looked very translucent. This must be carried from a young age, for 3 years to be enough for the jade stone to recognize its owner. Initially, I wanted to leave it to my granddaughter, but I left too suddenly back then and forgot to give it to my son before he got married, the old man sighed. But this jade must be carried since childhood to be effective. My granddaughter is grown up now, so it is useless to her. Little girl, fate has brought us together today, and I like you. I will give this necklace to the baby in your womb. Feng Ruqing held the jade stone. You can still leave it to your granddaughter. After all, she will also have her children too. The old man shook his head and smiled bitterly. I'm willing to do my best to go back to them, but if I can't go back, wouldn't it be a waste of such a good thing? Little girl, I'm a person who is naturally fond of wine, and your wine is worth the price. Feng Ruqing looked at the old man who was so persistent, and so she received the necklace and put it into the medium. Good. The old man laughed. However, this necklace can only be passed on to a girl. I didn't want to give it to that brat in my house back then, and if you give birth to a son, bring it back and return it to me. I live in Wushang City. Me for extra chapters. Oh, Feng Ruqing looked calm. It's all right if this baby is a son. Maybe the next one will be a daughter. I can still have a daughter. After all, you can't take this necklace back once you've given it to me. She had already refused earlier anyway, and since he had insisted on giving it to her, he could not reclaim it. The old man was silent for a moment and asked, What if it's all sons? At this moment, Feng Ruqing's expression darkened, and anger washed over her. Are you cursing me? If it were not for the fact that Nan Xian was holding her hand, Feng Ruqing would have rushed forward and beaten up the old man. The old man laughed. Just kidding, I'm just joking, don't be angry. Meeting you is fate. I also quite like you. If you don't mind, you could be my disciple or granddaughter. Feng Ruqing sneered. And give you a chance to curse me every day. The old man was speechless. In Wushang City, so many people wanted to be his disciples, yet this girl refused to do so. He was so angry. This was so embarrassing. But somehow, looking at Feng Ruqing's face, the old man could not seem to express his anger and could only smile at her. Chapter 1488. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city. 16. Girl, I'll take your good wine with me. Remember to look for me in Wushang City in the future. Everyone in Wushang City knows my name. You can find me by asking around. Feng Ruqing snarled, Just go. The old man had cursed her only ever to have sons, and he still wanted her to go to him? He. Dream on. The old man picked up the wine jar and turned to walk deeper into the spirit beast mountain. He walked for a moment and suddenly stopped. Wait, did I tell that girl my name? The old man slapped his head hard. He had forgotten to tell his name to that girl. How was she supposed to find him? Oh, right. What was I doing in the spirit beast mountain before? It seems like I was looking for something, but what exactly was I looking for? The old man's face darkened. He slapped his head hard but still could not remember what exactly he was doing here. Not far away, Feng Ruqing had been dragged away by Nan Xian. Fu Chun and Qing Han were standing by her side, afraid that they would accidentally offend Feng Ruching. Actually, Nancian paused and looked at the young girl next to him. I think having a son is not too bad. Feng Ruching's face darkened. Don't you like a daughter? I like both, but I think a son is also fine. Nancian's tone was gentle but serious. At least, a son would not make him feel jealous. If it was a daughter, perhaps he would no longer have a place in Qinger's heart. The state preceptor likes a son? Feng Ruching looked suspiciously at Nancian. Nancian pursed his lips. I like both. Oh, then for the state preceptor, if we have a son in the future, he'll beat him up less. I will not beat him up too much for extra chapters. Nancian lowered his eyes and looked at the young girl's face gently. Qinger, whether it's a boy or a girl, as long as it's yours, I like all of them because your blood runs through them. The son will look like me, and the daughter will look like you. Fu Chun, on the side, agreed with a nod. That's right. Mother, if the younger brother looks like father, do you still have the heart to beat him? Feng Ruching raised her head and looked at Nancian's face for a moment before she shook her head. I will not beat him if he looks like you, but I will do it if it doesn't look like you. Everyone was speechless. Fu Chun paused and looked sympathetically at Feng Ruching's belly. You will be born sooner or later, and if you're a girl, it's fine, but if you're a boy, you will definitely have to look like Nancian, otherwise. I'm afraid it will end badly. It is a little sister. Little Qing Han raised her hand and hugged Feng Ruching. Her small face was filled with a bright smile. It must be a little sister. It's not a brother. Feng Ruching's face suddenly brightened up as she hugged little Qing Han and kissed her. Little Qing Han is so sweet, unlike that old man just now who has cursed me. Little Qing Han giggled. Her laughter was as clear as a bell, and she was so adorable. Nancian frowned. She's too heavy. You shouldn't hug her. It will make you feel tired. Qing Han was first stunned, and her eyes began to water. Mother, father is so bad. You said I'm heavy, but I've been eating lesser lately. I'm not heavy at all. But as soon as she finished speaking, Feng Ruching had already placed little Qing Han on the ground. She rolled her wrist a little and smiled. You are indeed a little heavy. The state preceptor is right. Qing Han, you should lose some weight. You can't eat anymore. Chapter 1489. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city, 17 Qing Han was stunned. Mother, you've changed. You're no longer the person I used to know. Qing, it's getting late, let's go. Nancian calmly turned around. His white robe was as cold as the moon. An ray of light fell upon his handsome face. Wushang City. The entire Wushang City was in chaos since the little prince was taken away by a leopard. The empress was heartbroken and had fallen ill. Even the emperor had aged a lot in a short time. He no longer went to the court, accompanying the empress all day, causing all the concubines to feel jealous of her. Qi Feng rubbed his forehead to relieve the headache that was coming on. He looked at the guards kneeling in front of him and asked sternly, Is there still no whereabouts of Yue? The guards knelt in a row, trembling. Your Majesty, we still haven't found the little prince, and even Master Qing has not returned. Qi Feng's eyes turned cold. Where is the woman who harmed the little prince? My subordinates have already sent people to wait at the foot of the mountain. As soon as she descends from the mountain, she will certainly be dealt with on the spot. Good. Qi Feng's gaze looked serious. I won't let go of anyone who has harmed my son. Lian Yi and Lian Qing are also at fault. When the general returns, tell him to punish them. In the entire Wushang city, only General Tian Ye had the emperor's respect. The emperor would not even touch the general's people, simply leaving them to Tian Ye to settle. Ahem. The empress had woken up. She opened her eyes and coughed gently, trying to get up from the bed. Qi Feng hurriedly helped the empress up. Empress, your body is still weak. You have to rest more. Me for extra chapters. Your Majesty. The empress gripped Qi Feng's hand tightly. Her face was pale, and her eyes were filled with grief. Where is Yue? Is there still no news of Yue? Qi Feng lowered his eyes and did not answer the empress' questions. Seeing the expression on his face, the empress knew the answer. Your Majesty, you still can't find Yue. The empress gradually loosened her hand, looking grief-stricken as if she would not be able to hold on any longer at any moment. Empress, don't worry. I have already sent people to continue the search. Qifeng hurriedly held the Empress' hand. Yue is my son. How can I not be anxious too? But it's useless to be anxious now. We must calm down a bit before we can deal with the rest of the matter. The Empress sneered as she suddenly raised her hand and pushed Qifeng away. Your Majesty has more than one son. Of course, you wouldn't be as anxious as me. But I only have a son and a daughter, and they are my life. Your Majesty doesn't think about avenging Yue in the slightest. So, I will personally avenge him. Qifeng frowned lightly. Empress, I won't let anyone, which hurts Yue, go, ever. A touch of anger flashed in the Empress' eyes and made her look fierce. Qifeng knew that she had become like this because she was thinking of her son. He did not allow himself to be upset by her, as he just sighed. Empress, I have been accompanying you these past few days and have not even bothered with kingdom affairs, but now there is no way I can keep ignoring it. I need to go to the court today, and I will come back to visit you later. Qifeng smiled bitterly. And I will not let go of the person who harmed Yue, even if Yue is really gone, I will still get his bones back. Chapter 1490. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city. 18. The Empress trembled as she gripped the bed covers tightly. If Yue is dead, isn't it pointless to bring back his corpse? All she wanted to see was the living, breathing Yue. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Just at this moment, a joyful voice came from outside the palace. Qifeng turned around and saw a eunuch hurriedly running over and stumbling in his heels. But he could not get up in time, so he crawled in front of Qifeng. Your Majesty, the little prince is back. He's back. What? The Empress quickly raised her head as she tumbled off the bed. Even her voice was trembling. What did you just say? Is Yue back? Equals he's back. The Empress covered her mouth with her hand as tears flowed from between her fingers. The news was so sudden, so surprising that she could not believe it. Yes, the little prince is back. The court servants have taken him to Jingda Hall. He's really back. This time, without the need for the eunuch to reply again, the Empress had rushed out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. From afar, the Empress could hear the arrogant and overbearing shouting that made her feel calm again. Get out of here. All of you, get out of my way. That bastard Feng Lianqing, tell him to get out of here. I'm going to kill him. Inside Jingda Hall, Qi was fat, but he was not slow. He swept everything on the table onto the floor and angrily pointed at the servants. Where's Feng Lianqing? Why did he throw me back to the palace? That bastard, sooner or later, I'm going to kill him. Oof. It's that bastard's fault. He was surrounded by the spirit beasts again when they were about to leave the spirit beast mountain. Me for extra chapters. If it were not for Feng Lianqing, perhaps his goddess sister would have taken him along, and he would not have been nearly dragged away again. He had said long ago that Feng Lianqing could not take care of a child, but the goddess sister did not believe him. If he had not pissed on that germophobic spirit beast, he would have been eaten again. That bastard had gone overboard. What was more, Feng Lianqing had run away after he threw him back to the palace. Where? A hoarse voice called out. When Qiyu turned around, someone had already rushed over and pulled him hard into her arms. The Empress trembled a bit, afraid that if she let go, the boy would run away again. Yue, my Yue. After a few moments, the Empress released her embrace and caressed the little fatty's face, her gaze gentle. I've let you suffer. The little prince was dumbfounded. He suddenly thought of the grievances he had suffered these past few days and cried out pitifully. This cry caused the Empress to become more distressed. She once again pulled the little prince into her arms and hugged him tightly. Yue, my sweetheart, I will never let this happen again. The people who bullied you and hurt you must pay the price for this. Ruthlessness flashed in the Empress' eyes, and she gritted her teeth. Qiyu blinked. What does Mother mean by this, wanting to avenge me? To kill that bastard Feng Lianqing? The more Qiyu thought about it, the happier he was. After all, Feng Lianqing was Tian Ya's disciple, so it was not that easy to kill him. But if his mother stood firmly on his side. Chapter 1491. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city, 19 He. No one can save Feng Lianqing this time. Yes, mother. He must be killed. That person bullied me, hurt me, and abused me. Qiyu sobbed. The empress' heart hurt. She wiped her tears and said, "Don't worry, heir. Mother will avenge you." She would never let that woman go. Qi Feng had also come over. He heard Qi's words and could not help but sigh softly. It seemed that this time, Yue had really suffered a lot otherwise. No matter how arrogant and domineering he was in his life, he would not have thought of killing someone. Yue, remember not to run away again in the future. You have made your mother worry. Qi Feng sounded serious. The Empress snorted. Yue just came back. Why are you so mean to him? Empress, look at how he's already been spoiled by you, running to the Spirit Beast Mountain without a word and not bringing any guards with him. If he continues to be arrogant, he might be even more reckless, and who knows if he'll still be able to come back alive next time. The Empress, who had initially wanted to protect Qiyu, suddenly became speechless after hearing this. Qi Feng was right this time. He could not continue to be indulged, or else it might really be difficult to handle him. Qiyu snorted. I don't care. I can go wherever I want. I still want to go to the Spirit Beast Mountain. Of course, he was just saying that. He did not like it when his father lectured him like that. He was just trying to pick a fight with his father. Qi Feng's face turned pale, and his eyes were cold. You shut up. Why? Qiyu cried out pitifully. You are all bullying me. That servant from the general manor bullied me, and you guys are bullying me too. I don't want to live anymore. Sob. The Empress froze, and her face suddenly drooped. The servant of the general manor bullied you. That's right. That little servant. She was mean to me and tried to beat me. Qiyu cried out. His small face was dirty and soaked with tears. The Empress' face grew colder. The general's servant. Is it the woman that Liani has mentioned before? Liani had kindly helped that woman, and as a result, Qiyu had misunderstood that she was a servant from the general manor, which was why he had ordered her around like that. Me for extra chapters. Unexpectedly, that woman held a grudge and almost got Qiyu killed. And not only that, that woman had been mean to Qiyu and had even tried to beat him up. Your Majesty. The Empress raised her eyes to look at Qi Feng. Qi Feng suddenly turned cold and said, I know what to do. Liani had actually hidden this matter from him. Liani was deliberately trying to hide the fact that she and Feng Lianqing were also the ones who had failed to protect Qiyu when Feng Ruqing beat him up, because if the emperor knew about it, he would definitely blame them. Of course, what Qi Feng did not know was that the little servant Qiyu talked about was someone else. Mother, you promised to avenge me, right? Qiyu looked at the Empress. His face was still covered in tears, and his eyes were shined with joy. That little girl Liani was going to be punished too? Great. Even though the goddess sister was fierce with him, she was still powerful and had saved him in the end. But that Liani, who was that little girl to dare to scold him? Did she think that she could do whatever she wanted just because Tianya was protecting her? Chapter 1492. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city XX, the entire Wushang city was his territory. So how dare that servant girl treated him that way? He would have his father and mother kill her. The more Qiyu thought about this, the happier he became. A smile appeared on his face. Mother, quickly kill her. Sure. Relax, Yue. Mother will never let anyone wrong you ever again. The Empress lowered her head and caressed the little prince's head with gentleness in her eyes. Yes, her son should never suffer any grievance. A murderous intent flashed in the Empress' eyes, which then turned into resolution. At General Manor, Liani was sitting in the yard, staring at the sky as she fell into deep thoughts. No one knew what she was thinking about. A while later, a servant dashed through the door, panting as she announced, Miss, the young master is back. Liani shuddered and got up from the stone bench immediately. She was delighted that Feng Lianqing could return safely, but she was also afraid that he might expose the lie she had told. Feng Lianqing always had a straightforward personality. If he exposed her, that would mean she had to bear the sin of lying to the emperor. Soon, that familiar silhouette entered into Lianya's range of sight. Lianya composed herself and went over with a smile. "Big brother Feng, you're back." "Yeah." Feng Lianqing glanced at Lianya's pale face suspiciously. "What's wrong with you? Where's Master?" "The general has gone out." "Big brother Feng, did you come back alone?" "Is the little prince?" Lianya chewed her lip. Before she could finish asking, Feng Lianqing smiled. "Everything went well. I've sent the little prince back to the palace." "Me for extra chapters." "I've sent the little prince back to the palace?" "Sent back to the palace?" Lianya was trembling, almost falling to the ground. She took a deep breath, but it could not calm the panic inside her heart. The little prince had been sent back to the palace. What about her lie? Lianya. Feng Lianqing noticed her peculiar behavior. He frowned. "What's wrong? Are you unhappy that the little prince has returned?" Lianya instantly regained her senses and forced a smile. "And no, I was just too surprised. So the little prince is still alive. When he was taken away by the leopard, I thought, oh, it was nothing too serious. It's all thanks to Miss Feng. She helped me save the little prince." Feng Lianqing smiled. If it weren't for her, the little prince might have been a little more unfortunate. And because she had saved his life, the little prince wanted Feng Ruching to escort him back no matter what. Just how little faith did the little prince have in General Manor? Complicated emotions surged through Lianya's heart. She closed her eyes so no one could see the hatred in her gaze. Feng Ruching had saved the little prince. Had she known that the little prince would come back alive, she never would have lied. Unfortunately, a fired arrow would not return. The words she had spoken could not be taken back. "Lianya, what exactly is the matter? Did the Empress and His Highness blame you for not rescuing the little prince?" Feng Lianqing thought Lianya was acting strangely. He looked at her, feeling puzzled, but sighed in the end and comforted her. "It's okay. I was the one who had gone the wrong way and is unskilled when it comes to escorting that he ended up in danger. Now that the little prince is back home safe, everything's fine now. You don't have to worry too much." He paused before adding, "The little prince was just frightened at most. I will just get a scolding from Master, nothing more." Chapter 1493. Leading the Spirit Beast to Attack the City XXI. Lianya forced a smile. "I'm not worried. After all, I'm from General Manor. His Highness might forgive me out of mercy for the General. I just happen to be traumatized by the Spirit Beast Mountains incident and have yet to regain peace of mind." "Oh," Feng Lianqing understood. "So that's what it is. Then you have to get more rest. I will also get some rest." After that, Feng Lianqing walked away. For some reason, he felt as if the guards who had followed him to the Spirit Beast Mountain wanted to tell him something with their eyes. Yet when he asked them, none of them gave him any answers. Feng Lianqing frowned, but thought not much of it. The reason being that he could never imagine Lianya pushing all the responsibility of that incident to Feng Ruching. He also could not imagine his childhood friend, the girl he had grown up with, to be such a vicious and heartless woman. It was exactly because he did not know this side of her he had missed the best opportunity to ask. At the foot of the Spirit Beast Mountain, Feng Ruching was glaring at the guards surrounding them. She cocked an eyebrow. "State Preceptor, our journey hasn't been peaceful at all." "Yeah." Nancian was calm as a breeze and aloof as the cold moon. "Let me take care of this." Soon after he had spoken, Nancian dashed into the crowd like a gentle gust of wind. These men were skilled fighters, but there was still a limit to their capabilities. In an instant, they all fell into a pool of blood and stopped breathing. Feng Ruching was mildly stunned. "Nancian, don't you find these people suspicious? Why did they surround us for no apparent reason?" Nancian frowned. "That's true. Why didn't you leave one alive? I want to know who's behind this." "I didn't think of that." Nancian squatted down to rummage through the dead bodies before finding 2 tokens. Wushang City was written on one of it, while the other only had one character, Imperial. Me for extra chapters. Coming from Wushang City must mean they're related to the little fatty. The little fatty? Feng Ruching narrowed her eyes. "I saved that little fatty out of kindness, but is he trying to return my grace with revenge? I must have been too lenient when punishing him." I should have whipped him to the point where he wouldn't dare to have any thoughts about harming me. Although the little fatty was a tad arrogant, he was a child. She had thought that he was not that bad, but, he was thoroughly rotten. Mother, are we going to Wushang City? Fu Chun turned to Feng Ruching and asked. Feng Ruching smirked. Of course. I'm going to get back at that little fatty. What's more, if I don't go, these people will keep coming after us. It's too annoying. Mother, Shout Ching nibbled the tiny carrot in its hands. That little fatty is nasty despite his appearance. He must still hold a grudge against you and wants to take revenge. Mother, why don't we look for that fatty now in secret and give him a nice whipping? Yeah, that works too. Feng Ruching rubbed her chin. But there are many skilled fighters in the palace, so we better be careful after all. Fu Chun, why don't you guys stay in the medium for now? With a lift of her arm, she returned the two little beings into the medium. State Preceptor, I wanted to leave the mountain immediately, but I've changed my mind. Let's go find the leopards after all, and adopt a few abandoned spirit beasts on the way. Feng Ruching narrowed her eyes. Whoever dares to attack me, they'll make them bleed no matter the cost. Chapter 1494. Leading the spirit beasts to attack the city XXI, especially that little fatty. He was not who she thought he was. Oh yes, and Feng Lianqing. He was in the same group as the little fatty. That little fatty does have a lot of meat. They'll use him to feed my leopards. Let's go, Nanxian. Nanxian paused. He wanted to say just one. But seeing how enthusiastic Feng Ruching looked, he held back his words. Okay, as long as it makes you happy. At Wushang City, it was quiet around the gates. However, this silence was soon broken by the roars of leopards. The guard on duty was still feeling groggy. He rubbed his tiny eyes before trying hard to open them, and immediately noticed a large stampede of spirit beasts charging over, roaring as they came. This are spirit beasts invading the city? Oh God, spirit beasts are invading the city. Quick, inform young Master Lianqing and send someone to report this to His Highness. Spirit beasts are attacking the city. Boom! The city gates were burst open instantly, and these guards were thrown back onto the ground, spitting blood. Inside General Manor, Feng Lianqing was sitting on a fake stone mountain leisurely with a wine bottle in his hand, feeling satisfied and relaxed as he sampled his drink. However, before this leisure could last a little longer, it was disrupted. Young Master, something terrible happened. The spirit beasts of the Spirit Beast Mountain have descended and are attacking the city. Attacking the city? Feng Lianqing was stunned. Are those the Nan family's spirit beasts? No, they're not. They're not the Nan family spirit beasts. How dare they attack the city? Let's go, lead the way. I want to see which spirit beast has such audacity and dares to invade my Wushang City. Feng Lianqing tossed the wine bottle away, jumped down from the stone mountain, and walked out of General Manor. Me for extra chapters. Around the city gates, it was utter chaos. By the time Feng Lianqing reached, he had found a few leading leopards to be quite familiar, as if he had seen them somewhere before. However, there were not only leopards, there were also tempest tigers, shining alpha wolves, lightning leopards. There were countless breeds. However, behind these spirit beasts stood a familiar silhouette, clear in view. Feng Lianqing's heart almost stopped. What was this woman doing? Why did she want to invade the city? Stop! Everybody stop! Feng Lianqing's expression immediately changed, and he commanded. All the warriors in Wushang City stopped and quietly awaited Feng Lianqing's instructions. Feng Lianqing's forehead was covered in sweat. He hurried over, wanting to get close to Feng Ruching, but a leopard's roar made him stop abruptly in his tracks. Miss Feng, is there a misunderstanding? Weren't we just fine a while ago? What are you doing now? After all, they were acquaintances who had made it through an ordeal together. How could they just turn against each other so suddenly? Feng Ruching lowered her gaze and scanned Feng Lianqing. Where's the little fatty? Feng Lianqing laughed sheepishly. Do you mean the little prince? He's in the palace. Oh, he returned my grace with revenge. I'm here to educate him nicely. She would not stoop to the level of a kid. If a child misbehaved, just hit him. If he continued to misbehave, hit him again. Feng Lianqing was stunned. Return your grace with revenge. Yeah, he sent people to cut off our path, wanting to kill us. Feng Ruqing's tone was calm, as if she was talking about something unrelated to her. Feng Lianqing blinked. The little prince sent people to cut off Feng Ruqing and Nanxian's path. Chapter 1495. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city XXII, that's impossible. Without waiting for Feng Lianqing to deny this, Feng Ruqing tossed the 2 tokens in front of him. Take a look and see if this belongs to him. Feng Lianqing squatted down. When he had taken a closer look at the tokens, his expression stiffened. It's true that these authority tokens belong to the palace guards. There's no problem then. At the palace of Wushang City, she only knew the little fatty. The only person capable of mobilizing the imperial guards was him as well. Hence, other than him, she could not think of anyone else. In fact, it was no wonder why Feng Ruqing would blame the little fatty for this. She would never have imagined that it was Liani who had tossed the responsibility of the little fatty's disappearance to her. General Manner had caused the little fatty's disappearance. She only reminded them that they had gone the wrong way. She never thought that the incident could be related to her in that way. And so this became the cause of her misunderstanding toward the fatty. Feng Lianqing. A sharp voice called from behind Feng. Lianqing did not give him a chance to explain anything to Feng Ruqing. He turned to see Qi Feng dressed in yellow robes as he slowly made his way over. Following beside him, surprisingly, was the Empress dressed just as magnificently. The Empress gazed at Feng Ruqing resentfully and furiously. It was like a knife threatening to slice her to pieces. Feng Ruqing looked at the Empress, confused as to why the latter displayed so much hatred toward her. But after some thought of how she had just destroyed the city gates and led a group of spirit beasts to attack the city, it was only natural that the Empress hated her. Feng Lianqing, is this what the general taught you? When faced with enemies invading our territory, how do you still have the heart for trivial conversation? Feng Lianqing's eyes dimmed slightly. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. Miss Feng is definitely not that kind of person. I think you must have been bewitched by beauty and have your mind muddled by this pregnant woman. Guards, kill every spirit beast invading the city and apprehend these 2 people. Take them back to the palace for a decision to be made. Me for extra chapters. Misunderstanding? Ha! This woman laid a hand on Yuer, and now she's here to attack the city. What misunderstandings could there be? Nanxian calmly protected Feng Ruqing in his embrace. Following a thundering sound, the guards closing in on Feng Ruqing were sent flying with a lift of his hand. They fell to the ground in a battered state. Your Highness! Feng Lianqing was getting anxious. This is really a misunderstanding. Just you let me explain? Shut up. Feng Ruqing and Qi Feng both turned to Feng Lianqing and barked. Feng Lianqing kept quiet out of fright, the nervousness still evident in his eyes. Where's the little fatty? Feng Ruqing asked indifferently. How dare you? The Empress' expression faltered slightly. How dare you be this disrespectful toward my son? Not only do I disrespect him, but I also want to dangle him in the air and give him a good beating. A wild child like this needs to be whipped to be obedient. You, the Empress pointed furiously at Feng Ruqing. Even if my son is at fault, he doesn't deserve a punishment like this. If you treat him that way, I won't forgive you. At this, Feng Lianqing could not resist interrupting. Your Grace, there are imperial guards with authority, tokens to murder Miss Feng. The little fatty has, perhaps, sent those men. The Empress smirked. Yuer would never endanger a person's life casually. His Highness sent those men. Feng Lianqing believed that a misunderstanding existed from the start. Someone must have stolen the tokens and impersonated the imperial guards to deal with Feng Ruqing. However, after hearing the Empress' words, his body stiffened slightly. He turned to look at the Empress in disbelief. Chapter 1496. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city Ziv Y. The Empress smiled coldly. She bullied my son. Of course, I can't let her off that easily. If it were not for Feng Lianking's strength and capabilities, her son might have lost his life. How could she forgive someone who had almost harmed her son? Feng Lianqing was mildly stunned. Did His Highness and the Empress hear about Feng Ruqing whipping the little price? But why did the Emperor not punish him? After all, it was his fault for not protecting the little prince. Your Highness, Your Grace, Miss Feng can't be blamed for this. It was because of my lack of skills. That's enough. Qi Feng waved impatiently. You've done well on this journey, and you do not lack in skills. Because of you, wearer could return safely. And thanks to this, I've decided not to tell the general about what happened today. You must be tired. Go home and rest. Feng Lianqing was flabbergasted. It was clearly Feng Ruqing's credit, but how did it become his instead? Your Highness, wasn't me. Feng Lianqing, one more word from you, and it'll make a decree for the two girls from the Hellion family to marry you. Master would never agree to it. He believes in mutual affection and would never let me marry someone I don't love, much less marry two. Qi Feng smirked. Your master is not in Wushang City. If I force you to go through with the bridal night, everything will be too late by the time he returns. You won't be able to get away by then. Feng Lianqing was dumbstruck. This was too shameless. He dare not say another word, and eyed Feng Ruqing sympathetically. He even gave her an eye signal, prompting her to leave at once. However, Feng Ruqing did not look at him. She stared straight at Qi Feng. You're the ones who gave the orders? Yes. Oh, so the little fatty still told on me. But he's the reason regardless, so when I catch him, I'll hang him on the city walls and whip him. You. The Emperor's face darkened. This last dared to be so arrogant in front of them. It was no wonder she would do something to harm you, heir. If that was the case, they should not be blamed for not showing mercy. Everyone, charge me for extra chapters. Upon Qi Feng's command, the guards rushed over and immediately appeared before Nancian. The whole time, Nancian did not speak. He only shielded Feng Ruqing behind him, ensuring that she was safe. The spirit beasts have surrounded Feng Ruqing as well, loyally protecting her like dogs. Just then, at the Imperial study room, the little fatty was flipping the book in his hand without much interest. There was impatience in his eyes. Ever since coming back a few days ago, Father keeps forcing me to read. What's so good about these books? They're boring. He slammed the book in his hand on the table with a loud thud and scanned the room. Now that Father isn't here, even if I snuck out, he wouldn't know. It was impossible to make him read. He would never study seriously for the rest of his life. The little prince tipped his chin up and walked out of the Imperial study room arrogantly, without a care in the world. He had just stepped out of the room when a eunuch hurried over nervously. Your Highness, spirit beasts have invaded the city, and they're looking for you. Spirit beasts? The little prince's whole body quivered. He recalled the nightmarish days he had spent in the Spirit Beast Mountain. Why are the Spirit Beasts looking for me? Could all the Spirit Beasts in the mountain have known that I have a lot of meat, so they're here to catch and eat me? No, the Spirit Beasts have been led here by a girl, and it's a pregnant woman. She is now battling the Emperor's men at the city gates. The Emperor has sent someone here to ask me to inform you not to go out. Chapter 1497. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city XXV, he had just spoken when the little prince dashed out of the palace like a gust of wind. The eunuch felt weak in his knees from fright. Your Highness, you can't go outside. Thankfully, before the little prince had gotten far, 2 guards had blocked his way. Your Highness, it's dangerous outside. You can't go out there. Get lost. The little fatty's excessive fat was shaking as he kicked the guard. Get lost immediately, or it'll get mother to cripple you. The guard winced, but dared not make a sound. We have received orders from the Emperor not to let you leave. The little fatty's eyes widened as he glared at them furiously. The nerve of you. A cold voice barked, not too far away, sounding menacing. Who has allowed you to block my 9th brother's way? When the little prince lifted his head, he saw an elegantly dressed young man slowly walking over. The little prince snorted and turned away, unwilling to look at him. Ninth brother, I was just joking with you back then. Why did you go to the spirit beast forest? The young man was smiling brightly. You ended up making father and mother worry a lot. Chiyu pouted, clearly reluctant to speak to this young man. The young man raised his head to look at the guards blocking the way. My ninth brother is a natural-born coward. Did you think he would go to the city gate? Father is personally there at the city gates to stop the intruders, so those people wouldn't be able to enter. My brother is just feeling playful and wants to leave the palace when father's not here. Chiyu kept quiet and pursed his lips, not daring to say a word. The guards exchanged glances, feeling hesitant. The young man continued, Forget it. I'll take my ninth brother out personally. If father asks about this, you can use this as an explanation. If you continue to stop ninth brother, don't say I didn't remind you that you'll both be tortured to the point where you wish you were dead with his temper. The guard expressions faltered slightly. The little prince truly had a terrible temper, and he liked to hold grudges. If they insisted on not letting him out to play, he would definitely take revenge on them in the future. Your Highness, then if the emperor asks, just tell him that I took him out to play. The young man smiled gently. Me for extra chapters. Understood, third prince. The guards heaved a quiet sigh of relief. With the third prince's word, they would not have to worry about giving the emperor an explanation or having to face the little prince's revenge. Outside the palace gates, the young man stopped and looked back at the wide-open palace gates. He then turned to the little prince with a smile that did not quite reach his eyes. Ninth brother, you shouldn't have come back alive. The little prince glared at the young man. What does it have anything to do with you whether or not I return? You won't be able to harm me that easily, and my mother won't forgive you. Is that so? With a smile, the young man lowered his gaze at the little prince. Then, I'd like to see which one of us will get the last laugh. Ha ha ha. The young man laughed out loud and walked past the little prince, not giving him another glance as he headed toward the streets. The little prince was not in the mood to care about him. Like a little meatball, he ran in the direction of the city gates. The streets of Wushang City remained silent as usual, but it was filled with bloodshed and slaughter outside the city gates. As Feng Lianqing watched this scene before him, he felt more anxious. He never thought the little prince would tell the emperor about Miss Feng whipping him. It'd be great if Master was here. Master will definitely have the power to stop all this. The empress' eyes were venomous, and her gaze was like a knife as she stared fixedly at Feng Lianqing. Chapter 1498. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city XXVI. At the thought of how Yuer almost died in this woman's hands, she felt exceptionally enraged and wanted to slice this woman to pieces at once. Father, mother, a familiar voice suddenly called out from behind. The emperor's face was instantly drained of blood as she turned to see a round body, shaped like a ball, running over. Yuer, her lips were trembling. Why did you come here for? She had deliberately ordered someone to inform the palace not to let Yuer leave. So why was he here? I'm here to look for. Yuer easily caught sight of Feng Lianqing standing beside Ah Hua and was immediately delighted. Got his sister. Before that word could leave his lips, countless vines had slithered across the ground and grabbed his legs to dangle him up in the air. The little fatty was dumbstruck, his eyes looking lost. What did he do wrong this time? Why did pretty sister want to hit him again? Yuer. The empress' eyes went bloodshot as she yelled at the top of her lungs. Let Yuer go. Feng Lianqing ignored her and narrowed her eyes at the little fatty being dangled in midair. Little fatty, I've really misunderstood you. To think you've learned to tell on me and got your father to come and get revenge for you. The little fatty was confused. I didn't. Put me down quickly. I didn't tell on you. Didn't tell on me? If you didn't tell on me, why did your parents send people over to hold Nan Xian and me off? Feng Lianqing smiled widely as she asked. It seems that you're but is itchy again and is asking for a beating. The little fatty shuddered. When he recalled that stinging pain, he got even more anxious. I didn't. That's enough. The empress' eyes were red as she glared furiously at Feng Lianqing. So what if Yuer tells on you? You've clearly done it, so why won't you admit it? The little fatty was almost in tears from being angered by his mother. He kept struggling. Mother, Why did you harm me? Why? Since when did I complain about her to you? Am I that kind of person? The spirit beasts below have stopped moving as they opened their mouths wide to wait for the little fatty. If he managed to struggle free, he would fall right into the spirit beast's mouth. Me for extra chapters. Perhaps it was because of this that the little fatty had stopped struggling and obediently let the vines dangle him in the air in that pitiful state. You err, don't you worry. With father and mother here, no one would dare to bully you. The Empress' face darkened. These people will have to pay the price. The little fatty was really crying now. 2 rows of tears appeared as his nose started dripping. She didn't bully me, really. The Empress' gaze was dark. You err. You really don't have to be afraid. Didn't you say she was bullying you at the palace? Mother will avenge you now. Feng Ruqing narrowed her eyes and looked up at Qiyu. Even Feng Liangqing subconsciously looked at him. Did the little prince really tell on her? TSK. I didn't know he was such a petty person. It seems that Miss Feng whipped him too lightly last time. The little fatty was dumbfounded, feeling his heart go cold. He had tried so hard to leave a good impression in Feng Ruqing's mind, but it was gone now. Everything was gone. Mother. He paused, deciding to explain himself one more time. Are you misunderstanding something? What? The Empress was stunned and looked up at the little prince. I didn't tell on her, and I would never have told you that she's whipped me before, and you've clearly promised me before that you would take down Feng Lianqing and Liani for me. Chapter 1499. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city XXVI, there was silence. Feng Lianqing and Liani? Qi Feng was briefly silent before asking, the ones you were complaining about was Feng Lianqing and Liani? Not her. Seeing that Qi Feng had finally understood him, the little fatty was almost in tears from feeling touched. That's right. It's those 2 idiots. The ones I want to kill are them. The Empress was stunned for a while, unable to speak. After some time, she said, but this lass almost killed you. The little fatty was crying tears and snot. Mother, I beg you, stop trying to harm me. How can I not know if she's trying to harm me? It's clearly you who's trying to harm me. The Empress' face turned dark. If the little fatty was not her son, she would have slapped him. She was his mother, so how could she harm him? How dare this little fatty say something like that? Back then, wasn't it her fault that you were taken away by a spirit beast? She had hit you off a guard's back and made you fall into a leopard mouth, so you have ended up being taken away by a leopard. There are leopards in this city invasion, so it's obvious that she has set this up with the leopards. Feng Lianqing was dumbstruck. It was his fault that the little fatty was taken away by the leopard, but no one blamed him after returning to Wushang City. The emperor had even commended him. He had thought that the little fatty had put in a good word for him, but it seemed like everything was a mistake. This, Feng Lianqing wiped the sweat on his forehead. Both of you must have been mistaken. Qi Feng looked at Feng Lianqing. What? Back then, I was the one who had hit the guard and caused him to throw off the little prince, that the little prince ended up in the mouth of a spirit beast. Having been influenced by Feng Ruqing calling the little prince Little Fatty, he had almost called out this nickname. Thankfully, he managed to hold the words back. Qi Feng frowned. That's not right. It was Liani who has told us that this woman resented Yuer and deliberately wanted to harm him. Feng Lianqing was stunned. Liani? Liani is trying to harm Miss Feng? At the thought of this possibility, Feng Lianqing's expression darkened as his aura grew cold, mingled with hints of fury. After hearing Qi Feng's words, the little fatty let out a sigh of relief. He lowered his head to look at Feng Ruqing. Did you see that? It wasn't me who told on you. It's that servant girl from General Manor trying to harm you. Quick, put me down. I'm not the type of person who would complain. Me for extra chapters. Oomph. Even if he wanted to complain, he would only complain about Feng Lianqing. This idiot had endangered his life a few times. Feng Ruqing was surprised and finally realized that she had misunderstood the little fatty. She laughed awkwardly and retracted her vines. I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to harm me. Thud. The little fatty fell from the air and landed on the ground. That fall made his whole body ache, and his teeth stung with pain. However, He did not cry this time, but got up swiftly and pounced at Feng Ruching. A cold glint appeared in Feng Ruching's eyes. She extended her leg. Fortunately, from previous experience, the little fatty managed to stop himself in time to maintain a leg's distance with Feng Ruching. Goddess sister, did you see that? It's that bitch Leonie trying to harm me. I really didn't tell on you. She must have felt displeased with me and tried to harm me. Feng Ruching cocked up an eyebrow. Stay further away from me, man. Oh, okay. The little fatty took a few steps back, obediently, blinking and being well-behaved. Qi Feng was speechless. The Empress was speechless. They felt that this boy in front was not Qiyu. Chapter 1500. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city XXVII, it was as if he had become another person. Qi Feng's handsome face stiffened slightly. He turned to look at Feng Lianqing. It really wasn't her. Who harmed you? Feng Lianqing was angered, so his tone sounded cold. It was my mistake that had almost harmed the little prince. It was also Miss Feng, who was good at persuading, that she persuaded the leopards to let go of the little prince and offer themselves to Miss Feng. However, you guys ended up returning her grace with revenge. If it weren't for Miss Feng, the prince might have died long ago. Oh, right. When we went to find the prince, we couldn't locate him for the longest time. It was Miss Feng who led us to the prince. If we were even a little later, the prince might not have been able to return alive. He admitted his mistakes. It was clearly him who had almost endangered the little prince's life. If it were not for Feng Ruching, the little prince really would not be able to return alive. The Empress' expression was exceptionally dark. Leonie told us that it was you and her who have painstakingly found the prince. She never mentioned this young lady. And she said to us herself that this young lady resented Yuer and wanted to harm him. Feng Lianqing closed his eyes in pain. He suddenly remembered the day when he had brought the little prince back to Wushang City. Lianyi's expression had been extremely odd. That day, he did not give it much thought. Now that he thought about it, he realized that it was because of the little prince's safe return, his childhood friend whom he had grown up with all these years. He suddenly realized that he never truly understood her. How dare she trick us and play us like monkeys? Qi Feng's knuckles were cracking as green veins popped up on his arms. If Leonie did not belong to General Manor, he would have sent people over right now to apprehend her. He still had to show some respect for the general. Mississippi. The Empress looked guilty. She had treated her benefactor like an enemy and almost killed her by mistake. This mistake was too grave. If Feng Ruching had really died from this, she could never wipe off her guilty conscience for as long as she lived. We have misunderstood you. Me for extra chapters. Feng Ruching looked indifferent, not saying a word and not even looking at the Empress. The Empress seemed embarrassed, but she did not say anything. After all, she was the one at fault for returning kindness with revenge. Lianqing. Qi Feng turned to look at Lianqing. When Leonie told us about this, she had used the honor of the general. I trust in the general's character, so I would naturally believe the people from his manor as well. But Lianya's personality is not pure, so she's not fit to stay in General Manor. The Empress' expression changed slightly. Your Majesty, you're not thinking of letting Leonie go after she has caused such a huge misunderstanding, are you? Qi Feng let out a bitter laugh. I'm showing the general some respect and letting him deal with her when he gets back. And what if he doesn't deal with her? The Empress laughed coldly. I'm the head of the harem, and your Majesty is the supreme ruler. Don't we at least have the right to deal with a little ass? My dear, the general has saved Wushang City before. Hence, he had to show him some respect. The Empress was smirking. I don't care. I only know that Leonie has intentionally framed someone and almost made me commit an unforgivable mistake. She knew how dear Yuer is to me, and still, she did this. It's clear that she has done this on purpose, so she can't be forgiven. Qi Feng was a little hesitant. He could afford not to show anyone respect, but he could not do so with the general. Chapter 1501. Leading the spirit beast to attack the city Zix. My dear, let's wait for the general's return to decide. Don't worry. I won't let Yuer feel this grievance for nothing. As for this young lady, Chi Fong paused as guilt crept into his expression. I will compensate her properly. It was due to his deep trust in Liani that they had misunderstood this young woman. Although the Empress' expression was a little sullen, she had other more important things to take care of, so she refrained from arguing with Chi Fong. She walked over to Feng Ruqing, guilt written all over her face. I was mistaken. Feng Ruqing gave her a cold glance before turning to Nan Xian. Let's go. Sure. Nan Xian smiled and caressed Feng Ruqing's head with a gentle look in his eyes. After seeing that it was just a misunderstanding, the spirit beast retreated. However, even though this was a misunderstanding, the fact remained that someone in Wushang City was trying to kill Feng Ruqing. Chi got anxious. Are you guys leaving just like that? Feng Ruqing raised an eyebrow at Chiyu. Did you want a beating? Chiyu glanced carefully at Feng Ruqing before looking swiftly at the spirit beasts beside her. All of these are my parents' fault. I'm innocent, so I'd like to come along with you. I want to call you my master. His goal of going to the Spirit Beast Mountain before was to seal an agreement with the Spirit Beast. Even if he failed to do so, he wanted to steal a Spirit Beast egg at least. However, he failed and almost died a few times under the claws of those Spirit Beasts. Now that he saw how many Spirit Beasts would follow Feng Ruqing with just a wag of her finger, a resolution slowly formed in his heart. I won't take you. Feng Ruqing rejected him without consideration. The little prince was flustered. I will behave and stop causing trouble. Just take me as your disciple. I will study well and not let you down. Everyone in Wushang City knew that the young prince, Chi Yu, was arrogant and a bully. He would not even listen to the emperor. However, this arrogant Chi Yu is now so well behaved, just so he could worship a woman as his teacher. Me for extra chapters. Chi Feng was mildly stunned. He finally studied Feng Ruqing's appearance, perhaps hoping to see what magical powers this young woman had to make Chi Yu behave this way. The Empress wanted to say something, but Chi Yu turned and shot her a glare. This is all your fault. Why did you guys attack Goddess Sister? She saved me on the Spirit Beast Mountain a few times, unlike that idiot, Feng Lianqing. That man can't even look after a child and has almost endangered my life. Feng Lianqing was speechless. He could not deny it. After all, what this little prince said sounded like the truth. Mississippi, the Empress looked up sheepishly at Feng Ruqing. We have misunderstood you just now. Can you, like the issue of sending men to the Spirit Beast Mountain to hold us off can be resolved just by calling it a misunderstanding. Feng Ruqing looked cold and indifferent. The Empress' expression stiffened. It was indeed their fault in the first place, and now that her son was supporting the outsider, she dared not vent her frustrations. What would you like then, miss? We can compensate you in any way. It's just that Yuer would like to have you as his teacher. This empress had indulged the little prince to the extent of spoiling him. Whatever the little prince wanted, she would think of every way to get it for him. She would not even ask for Feng Ruqing's identity so that she could satisfy her child. Chapter 1502, Leading the Spirit Beast to Attack the City XXX, my dear. Chi Fong was frowning slightly. Yuer was, after all, a prince. How could his master be a random person? Moreover, they knew nothing about the identities of these people. How could they leave Yuer with them and feel at ease? The Empress' expression stiffened. If you want help Yuer, put in a good word, that's fine, but how can you stop him from doing what he wants? I don't care as long as he's happy. For some reason, after hearing the Empress' words, Feng Ruqing glanced at the Empress oddly. There was a complicated emotion behind her gaze. State Preceptor, don't you think this little fatty is just like who I was before? Back then, Feng Tianyu had also indulged her Bodis original owner in becoming this way. The only difference was that Feng Tianyu would still educate her, but this Empress was just spoiling him endlessly. Nan Xian smiled calmly. That's true. Yeah. Feng Ruqing smiled. Her grin was laced with sarcasm as her gaze at the Empress became sharp. I'm not sure if you're the little fatty's biological mother. The Empress was stunned. Her expression darkened. What do you mean, miss? If I hadn't known, I'd have thought you were his stepmother. Stepmother? The Empress' expression was completely sunken. If I'm his stepmother, would I adore him this much? Miss, it's true that I was indiscriminate earlier and that Leonie has tricked me. I was at fault, and I will admit it, but you can't deny my motherly love for my Uer. Spoiling your child is like murdering him. Do you understand? Feng Ruching smirked. It's no wonder that he's this arrogant and obnoxious. He won't even respect anyone and is reckless enough to rush into the Spirit Beast Mountain on his own. Did you ever think that if Feng Lianqing and I did not show up in time, he would have lost his life? Me for extra chapters. The Empress paled slightly, and her body trembled. If it was not for this young lady and Feng Lianqing, Uer would have really been gone. The way I see it, because of your indulgence and adoration, this little fatty must have bullied the guards in the palace frequently to the point that when he leaves the palace gates, no one will dare to stop him. Feng Ruching sauntered over to the Empress with her heavy aura. Hence, he has gained the opportunity to enter the Spirit Beast Mountain. But if you let the palace guards know that both of you are the true owner of the palace, would they have disobeyed you and let him go out on his own? The Empress staggered a little with her hands clenched into fists. She bit down hard on her lip. It happened the last time when those guards had allowed Uer to leave on his own. It was the same this time. She had clearly instructed them not to let Uer leave the palace, but they still let him out, only because they would rather disobey her than disobey Uer. Children are born a blank slate. It is how you paint on this paper that matters. I don't believe in naturally born wild children. They're just spoiled. When faced with such wild children, you just have to hit them. If he keeps misbehaving, just hit him again. Hit him until he listens. Boys have thicker and rougher skin. He's not a little girl. So are you afraid he'll break? Feng Ruching smirked and asked. 1. What's more, he can't be so lucky all the time. There are numerous skilled men in this land of no return. Wushang City is just the tip of an iceberg. If this wild child grows up to provoke someone outside, wouldn't he be dragging Wushang City down? Chapter 1503. Leading the Spirit Beast to attack the city XXXI, each of Feng Ruching's sentences made the Empress' heart shudder. Her face became pale as snow. Uer had always been a child in her heart, and it was normal for a child to be naughty. She did not want to be too strict with him. However, it seemed like she never thought that spoiling him was destroying him. Qifeng looked up at Feng Ruching with admiration in his eyes instead. This young lady made a lot of sense. Previously, no matter how much he advised her, the Empress would not listen or consider the consequences. Whenever he wanted to teach Uer a lesson, the Empress would cry, and he would give in. This resulted in Uer gaining such an arrogant personality. The Empress' lips were trembling. I never thought too much about it. Seeing how you guys believe in Lianya's words so easily, I can tell that you guys don't have much intelligence. It's only natural that you didn't think of this, said Feng Ruching with a dazzling smile. If someone had said this to her in the past, the Empress would have flown into a fit of rage. However, this time, her mind was filled with what Feng Ruching had said earlier. Her thoughts were a mess. Was she wrong? Had she been wrong all these years? Should she not have spoiled Uer? Mississippi, Qifeng pondered before saying, since it was a misunderstanding, can you stay for a short while so I can compensate this young man in you? Feng Ruching was actually here for Leonie, and she just happened to come across an incident like this. Since the matter had been resolved, she was not in a hurry to leave. However, little fatty, stay further away from me. I don't like males. Oh, the little fatty was just about to get closer to Feng Ruching when he suddenly heard her say this. He pouted and stopped as grievance appeared in his tiny eyes. The Empress did not say anything else. Feng Ruching's voice continued to resonate in her mind, wreaking a havoc. Your Majesty, I'm a little tired, so I'm going back to rest. Get someone to escort Uer back later. Having said that, she left immediately. Her slender fingers massaged her temples gently, while staggering as she made her way back to the palace me for extra chapters. Your Majesty, Miss Feng, since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, they'll take my leave as well. I still have some matters to take care of. Feng Lianqing's expression was mildly dark. He squeezed his fists as he hurried away. At Feng Manor, Leonie was sitting inside her room, feeling jittery. The nervousness was clear on her face. Ever since Feng Lianqing had come back with the little prince, she could not feel at ease. However, for the past few days, the palace had been quiet. The emperor and empress never came to deal with her. It was like they did not know anything. This did not make her feel any better, but instead made her even more anxious. Her heart was being suspended in midair, unable to calm down. Bang! Suddenly, an extended leg kicked the door open, startling Leonie, and made her stand up immediately. She looked at the door nervously. Standing at the door was a young man. This young man was handsome and sophisticated. However, his expression was currently twisted, and his gaze was sharp as knives, making Liania's already flustered heart panic even more. Big Brother Feng, what happened? Leonie. Feng Lianqing walked slowly into the room. He was expressionless as he stared straight at her. Back when you returned to Wushang City, did you say something to His Highness? Leonie was startled. She suppressed the panic in her heart and forced a smile. Chapter 1504. Liania's hatred. I didn't. Is that so? Feng Lianqing smirked. You didn't tell His Highness that it was Miss Feng who harmed the little prince, did you? Leonie shuddered and lifted her head in fright. Big Brother Feng had found out about this after all. She bit down hard on her lip as her body trembled. Endless fear was spreading in her chest, and her heart threatened to stop beating. Leonie, why did you do this? Miss Feng didn't do anything, so why did you want to frame her? Feng Lianqing's expression was white with fury. I found it odd from the start. Why didn't His Highness punish me for losing the little prince, but had commended me instead? So it was all because of you. Leonie was pale as fear surfaced in her eyes. I wasn't trying to harm her. I just wanted to save you, Big Brother Feng. I did all of this because of you. Feng Lianqing closed his eyes. Since when did his pure and kind childhood friend become such a stranger? She had become so different that he could not recognize her. After a moment, Feng Lianqing opened his eyes. Leonie, when have you become this way? I thought you were just aloof, but still had a pure heart. How did you end up like this? Does Master know about this? The hands on either side of Leonie were shaking. Brother Feng, I was afraid that His Highness would punish you, so I did this to free you from punishment. I don't have any ulterior motives, and am not the type of person who frames others. I really didn't do it on purpose, right? She had done all this for Big Brother Feng. She had done this so that he would not receive any punishment. She did not do this for herself. Feng Lianqing stared at Leonie for a moment. Do you still like that man named Xian? Feng Lianqing had noticed Liania's intention from the start, so he had warned her at the Spirit Beast Mountain. He thought Leonie had understood his meaning and given up on that married man, but she still ended up doing something unforgivable like this. Leonie shook her head nervously. I won't become someone's concubine. He has a wife. How could I like him? Me for extra chapters. She could almost believe what she had just said. Feng Lianqing snorted. You don't want to be a concubine, so you plan to harm Miss Feng and take her place. Leonie took a few steps back and stared at Feng Lianqing, disappointed. We grew up together. Don't you believe me? Big Brother Feng, in your eyes, am I such a person? I only told this lie because of you. Since when have I done anything for me? The funny thing was Big Brother Feng did not believe her. I don't care about your explanation. When Master comes back, I will report this to him. Feng Lianqing looked at Leonie one last time before turning to leave. Leonie panicked completely. She rushed over to hug Feng Lianqing's leg as tears poured from her eyes. Her voice was sorrowful. Big Brother Feng, don't tell the general. He'll chase me out. Feng Lianqing stopped. He said nothing to the girl clinging on to him. Big Brother Feng, I beg you, don't tell the general. If him chased out of General Manor, he'll definitely die. Liania's voice was hoarse. I've never spoken about my past because to me, that was a nightmare. That's why I've always claimed to be an orphan. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.